let's talk about WoW PvP. And the reason I want to make a video and just kind of get right into it is to really ask the question of like, is PvP dying? Chances are you've seen something like this floating either on the forums or on YouTube videos. And I feel like while this is like a really clickbaity title, there's something weird going on right now. I literally feel almost physically like a weird frustration in the air. It's like a haze, whether it be on YouTube or forums, and it just might be my own experience, but there's literally just it feels almost like it's actually in the air. A little bit of frustration regarding WoW PvP. And it's almost like it's either passing around or it's looming over and people just don't want to look up to see the cloud above their head. Something just definitely feels off when it comes to WoW PvP, at least currently. Maybe it's just we have a next expansion coming in very soon, so a lot of the development is going into that. So maybe WoW PvP, while it could do a lot of changes, maybe everything is going into that right now. And we'll know when it comes BlizzCon, and maybe the hype will be reinvigorated, and maybe new content will come in afterwards, after they announce it. And people are like, yes, this is what we want to see for an expansion, maybe. So I want to preface that before I really begin the video. But let's now talk about PvP. Is it actually dying? Or are the quotes not necessary because it actually is starting to hit the rock bottom area? Is it Legion? Is it the players? What's going on? And mostly my own thoughts on it. Now, I heard this being passed around whether in forums or videos, and it's about PvP participation being at its lowest. I don't have any of the actual numbers. That's just what everybody is saying, and it just echoes from one another, so I'm not really sure if it's like a game of telephone. You have one person say it, then another person say it, then another person say it, and everybody's like parrots, or if PvP participation is actually low. And it's hard to tell because just about every single time I queue 2s or 3s, I don't really see a huge like copies of the same team over and over and over. But then again, I'm not playing at Gladiator ladders. In Gladiator ladders, you would see a lot more people, just same old people every single time. But in between right now, what is it, like 1800 as an Outlaw? I didn't really get that many games in, and a bunch of games that I got to do in 2s. There seems to be a lot of variety of different people. Maybe not comps, maybe not classes, but definitely people. Different people are playing. So I don't really know anything about that. But a lot of people are saying 3v3 participation is its all-time lowest, and most people are linking the Gladiator numbers from last season, the first season of Legion, second Legion season, and comparing it to other expansions, Pandaria, even Warlords General, Cataclysm, if anybody has any of that saved data, so you can see just how many Gladiators played. But to be, let's say, a primal Gladiator, or like, you know, the highest tippy top of Gladiator is, I think, 0.1%, if not 0.5. So the bigger that pool of people in that percentage for like the higher Glad, the more people are participating in 3v3s or 2v2s. And that's what most people are looking at. So a lot of people are saying participation is low, and they're kind of using math. Can't really argue with math. 2v2 ladder, I've actually heard people tell me that it's a joke now, complete meme. And I thought it was kind of a joke after Cataclysm when they took out titles, so because Blizzard said you can't really balance 2v2s as well anymore. So for me, that's kind of where it became a joke. So I've just been enjoying my time playing with friends and never really took 2v2s all that seriously. But I've actually had people tell me, you still playing 2v2s? Huh, scrub, try a real ladder 3v3, and that might be something worth noting. The only real ladder with actual balance and everything dedicated into WoW PvP that is considered, in most cases, is the 3v3 ladder. We used to have a somewhat competitive 2v2 ladder. Wasn't balanced, but competitive. People competed the hell out of it. 3v3 ladder, always been competitive for literally ever. And then we had the mysterious 5v5 ladder, which was a lot of fun as it was a clusterfuck, too many people in a single arena, but people used to be competitive in that ladder. So maybe it's a question of, as I guess Michael Hogman would put, is taking away all these ladders like a good thing for PvP? And maybe we're at a point where it's like, okay, we're just stripping and stripping and stripping things from PvP. What are we going to have? Something bare bones. So maybe that might just not be healthy for the game with all this stripping and stripping with time. You know, the longer the game is around, the older it is, the harder it is for people to really take it seriously and get into it. There could be also just not enough content or satisfaction when it comes to PvP and PvE, and that just would be completely on the development standpoint. Because the game is balanced mostly around PvE, and PvE content takes a massive priority, maybe there's the PvP development team that's really passionate, but they just don't have enough of a say-so to really just get their hands on a wheel and steer it into the direction of PvP that'll be more friendly towards the PvP players. Maybe not enough patches or not enough possibility for patches and class changes to balance things out. Not enough ability to produce content or even suggest content that would be specifically geared for PvPers. But there's definitely a lot of PvE content, whether it be the story, whether it be just stuff to do, from dailies to new zones, from raids and dungeons. So you can definitely see Blizzard putting a lot of effort into that. For PvP, I guess we got brawls, which now when you're talking about all this in that kind of scenario, brawls almost sound like a band-aid. They were a cool idea, and it's a nice way for Blizzard to throw someone new into the mix to see if players like it. And they have had some great ideas, they've had some bad ideas, but for the most part people like him even if there's bad ideas. They're not saying shut down Blizzard because we got a bad brawl. They're saying, okay, this brawl was pretty annoying, or I didn't like it for my class, but the next one could be good. And then the next brawl comes in, people are so hyped for it. And some of the best brawls they've had are Arathi Basin Snowy, the 6v6 BGs, the 5-man healer DPS, and was it healer, tank, and 3 DPS. Shadowpen Showdown was awesome. I personally liked, for my Discipline Priest, for the one-shot capability, I liked the Terra Mill South Shore, as it was really nostalgic for a lot of people and something I've never get to experience, so now I get to, no matter what class I play. Those are some of the brawls that I thought were exceptionally cool, and if they could be regular BGs that you could just add in the game, I would be really happy, as it would increase a new, interesting way to have a competitive aspect of the game. Imagine if we had RPGs, but also like a 6v6 teams. You would have smaller teams, you would have to consider the pool of players you're bringing in, what those classes do, and how they work in specific BGs that are also alternated and designed for 6v6. You bring in a lot smaller sizes, which it's much easier to get, like let's say you and 5 other friends or 5 other guildies, than a whole RPG group, and you're thinking about comms, because here it's a little bit of a different ground. You probably have a lot more things to play with, and you're thinking, should we even bring tanks? How many healers do we need? What kind of DPS should we get? But what if we get this map? And there's a lot of competitive aspect that people talked about, but they don't stick. They're just there for like a week or so, no real big balancing done with it, and they're gone. So we have an expansion, let's talk a little bit about it, where in PvP Blizzard has tried to do like a new leaf for Legion. The honor system is different, the prestige system was going to be cool, they kind of backpedaled on it. The PvP arenas were really exciting because of all the class changes and all the different things that we're bringing in with class changes, but then due to balancing issues, or for the most part what I think is the biggest problem, is just not enough work on the honor talent tree. Not enough ways to give new people new playstyles of abilities, because on talents, when you have class talents, there's some talents that nobody ever plays, so they try to change them and redesign them. Not every class and spec gets the treatment, but there's few where Blizzard have tried to give you more options. Pharaoh, for example, in 7.3 got a lot more room, a lot more options for PvP or PvE. But look at the honor talents. They're seldom barely changed. There's a lot of dead talents, a lot of just passes where people would rather press a button. So you have this like a lot of backpedaling, and maybe it's just with that combined with just how much time we spent in Legion so far, maybe people are at the point where they're kind of tired of it. Then we also have PvP content that's being tweezed bit by bit. We're taking this and this and this away and this away. No more 5v5s. 3v3s is still a thing. 2v2s are now considered a joke. I guess they have been. And then we have these brawls that are there for a week, but not really. It's a cool idea that could possibly be something cool, something competitive, something for people to do with PvP. A new way to play, and they just don't stick. They just are there for a bit and gone. So then it just makes you feel like brawls just almost don't even, might as well not even exist. So then it's like, what do we have? And maybe it's just the game is old, maybe it's just the game has been out there, or maybe it's just everybody's going back to school, back to work, back to college as summer's over. There's extra frustration just being, you know, they're aiming just anywhere they can, but they're hitting WoW PvP because let's say you're frustrated and you're playing World of Warcraft PvP and then you blame the game because something happens. It could be any one of these things. But one thing that I do think is WoW has a very interesting and unique idea here with WoW arenas. How many other games do you know that have an arena style of gameplay? And I'm not talking about like a brawler. I'm not even talking about MOBA style. And I guess you could think that, what is that game? It's with the gods, third person, Smite. kind of looks like WoW-ish, but it still is a MOBA, just with a different mechanic of you use W, A, S, and D to move, and you aim abilities with your mouse in a different third-person over-the-shoulder style of way. But WoW really does have something unique here, because a lot of people play arenas, and I talked about it with my buddy who he actually got glad the other week, so congrats to him. We talked about how there's nothing like that. Why do WoW PvPers still play, even though they complain? There's a lot of people that complain but still play the game. It's garbage, it's trash, but we still keep playing. There's nothing like WoW arenas. There's nothing like throwing 2 or 3 people in an arena with not too many, I guess, geographical changes, with just a few pillars, just empty space for us to just brawl it out and fight each other in terms of numbers, in terms of timing, in terms of cooldowns, in terms of lineups, in terms of synergy, in terms of being able to make crazy turnarounds and comebacks and everything. And it's just such a unique thing that it just, you feel like you could just capitalize on. It's something people play, and it might not be something that everybody can get into, like an Overwatch, which is great for anybody who likes first-person shooters and casual gaming. Heroes of the Storm, anybody who likes a really watered-down MOBA or just casually gaming. Hearthstone, anybody who played Magic the Gathering, or everybody who hasn't played Magic the Gathering can play that game. God forbid. It's just, they've done such a good job with some of the other games for a niche community or casuals, but when it comes to WoW Arena, it's just, maybe that's just where they are really missing the mark, where they could really capitalize on, but maybe they can't, maybe they won't, maybe they will not, maybe it's just impossible for whatever corporation business reasons that I would not really know of. I feel they could do more game modes for Arena. Bring more game modes. Give us more stuff to do with Arena. Smaller combat is what people enjoy. There's a reason why a lot of people play 2s, and most people play within that 1500, 1700 ladder because maybe they want to play with their friend who's a DPS and they play some double DPS, but because it's so healer DPS ridden that, you know, they can't really get past a certain point unless they're like really good at the game, and then they can climb. But for the most part, people play it because it's fun. People like the small crowd arenas, just you and the buddy versus 2 other dudes. You're trying to kill them before they kill you. You're trying to get some good lineups in here and there, and trying to outplay the guys. And I think people like the small scale arenas. There was a lot of positive reactions towards any arena that had, or even BGs, like the 6-man BG. They could do more arena stuff. They could do more with smaller pools of people. You don't need a full 10-man group just to queue an RBG. How about a 6? How about a 5? How about 4 people? You could probably do more with this. There definitely also needs to be more competition when it comes to WoW, because I guess it's, I mean, you can go and make it a big dick competition by getting Gladiator, and then you go waving Gladiator back and forth, but after a season or two, nobody cares that you got Gladiator in this specific season at a specific time. So maybe there needs to be more for competition. Now, it used to be just about Horde versus Alliance. It used to be just about getting that one dude that's always trying to compete with you off the ladder, see who, if you're the better rogue. But now it's like, do you care or do you not? And if you don't, you probably don't even participate. And if you care, why do you care? Maybe it's just all you like is WoW Arenas. And like, if you are to ask me right now, why do I care about WoW Arenas? I'm honestly just having fun playing with a friend. That's really about it. If I didn't have any friends to play the game with, or in terms of arenas, I'd probably be spending a lot more time on my alts and just learning the little bits here and there from BGs. And I wouldn't really be spending nearly as much time when it comes to actual competitive arenas, because I currently don't have a reason to. Don't really have as much of a drive as I did. Like the first time I wanted to get my very first 2K, I remember the passion that went into it, but now that is just not, I don't have that passion into PvP side. There is that passion to getting a higher item level, getting better gear, getting just better at different classes, continue to do well. Let's say in the 5-5-1-1 duels that I do, whenever I can do well as an Outlaw Rogue. There's a lot of those aspects, but not all of them are just PvP. It used to be all PvP centric, but maybe it's just me that's changing, but I think it is mostly the game. I do think it's mostly the game. Me and Saf talked about it before, and this is probably going to echo with a lot of what other people have said. I don't care, I'm not going to be quoting people. More prizes. There needs to be bigger pools. More reasons for people to get Challenger. Like Challenger could give you like a pet. Rival could get you something good. duelist could get you something cooler. It doesn't have to be like a straight up mount, but maybe mounts that, like, you know, duelist mount or rival mount. Like you have like a really just crap looking horse with like a sticker that says Alliance. Bam, you got rival, have fun riding your donkey. But another guy who got duelist got a goddamn stallion with a nice seat, nice a little bit of armor, horde or alliance. But then there's a guy who got gladiator, now he's got a bear with armor, horde or alliance. And then top glad got a dragon. So you have a little bit of a different like pool where people want to get to. Do you want to just stick with that donkey with a slap sticker that says I've voted for Trump and you're good to go? Or do you want to get the big old bear that is unique and maybe some cool mount that just will never be in the game ever again? Not just a recolor, but maybe like with some specific gear, like an armored shoulder but the other shoulder is bear. Bad joke. But I feel like there could be a lot more. There could be a lot more ideas, and a lot of people have said before, maybe structure it like you have Overwatch or League of Legends or even Heroes of the Storm, like a bracket. And the bracket changes depending on Duelist, Rival, and Gladiator. Like one season Duelist was actually pretty hard to get, and people were like, wow, if you played back in that day and you got Duelist, you were pretty damn good. You were pretty decent in your class and knew what you were doing. And another is like, oh, so you just trained one target and your healer CC'd and healed you the whole time. Okay, well, you got duelist and you're basically no better than like a 1700 player because you don't actually PvP. You PvE'd your way through it. So if they have more of like some kind of a structure to give people a reason to reach certain levels, because they've done it with Overwatch. Why do people want to reach the maybe first gold, the first diamond, the first master or grandmaster? Same thing goes for Heroes of the Storm for all 2 people that play it. Why do people want to reach that grandmaster or whatever the equivalent would be? Can't you apply that into WoW, a game that basically have been like a cornerstone, the PvP section that is unique, that's simple enough for like just about anybody to understand at this point? I mean, but then again, it could really go back to the fact that the hands are tied for the PvP team, and maybe that's just me, maybe that's just my own explanation. But what if, for the most part, the game and whoever is behind it, the lead is the PvE team, the storyboard team, the guys making the lore, making the environment, making the content, dungeons, balancing around those dungeons, some class tuning here and there for PvE only, and the PvP team is just in the corner, just so anxious to get their hands behind the wheel to really turn around with that same passion that players have. The guys that really want to get a final reform, that thought, okay, we're really going to turn a new leaf, but then they're just not able to. There could be that too. I mean, I guess the game could be just fine PvE. We could, for most part, people do PvE. There's so many people that will never touch a PvP aspect of the game. Hell, they will never do a world quest at the tower where you got to kill NPCs or players, even though there's usually never players there on most servers. This really becomes just another world quest. There's a lot of people that just PvE. And I guess out of all the other MMOs, raiding mechanics and such, I guess WoW is pretty good up there. It does somewhat compete with like Final Fantasy 14, I think, to some extent. I played that other game. I would say even some competition on that aspect. But the PvP, there's no one that really doesn't like it and stays. The tap targeting, not really action system, the arenas, the small scale, low amount of people in there, but the competitive aspect, the edge in it, just not quite there. So it could be that just we can't really do anything about it. But we will know come BlizzCon, I guess, if BlizzCon will have an announcement of like brand new expansion. Well then, for a lot of PvPers, the way I will take it, that's just me, the way if they come out and say, okay, we have a brand new expansion, here it is, and it's nice and shiny and gets the hype going, the way I will take it is, okay, that's where all the development is going into. That's why we don't have anything happening for PvP. And at least would explain some things for me here and there. It would still suck to the fact that, okay, well, I guess they're gonna put all the chips into that and we're gonna have to wait for any major PvP changes until next expansion. And we gotta have, what, Season 5, Season 6, 7, 8 of PvP. There better be some damn good changes for the next expansion if you're expecting for me to play through Season 8, unless they're really short, and then we get ourselves into the new expansion with a beta rolling and then all the class changes coming in. I just feel like there could be done more for PvP, for WoW, more for arenas because it is so unique. But those are just my opinions on it. So I'd like to hear some of your guys's. Anyway, that was actually awesome to sit down and talk about it, because I felt like I was able to just get a lot of this off my shoulders. And while there is a little bit of that haze of like frustration, especially regarding WoW PvP, I can at least just breathe clearly about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I really would like to hear you guys' responses. If you watched to the end of the video, I appreciate you. And I'll see all of you guys in yet another Dalaran Rogue video.